is the time to fight for that. We can't continue to allow our children to be taught of the devil. Period. We can't allow our children to continue to be taught of the devil. And that's what's happening in these public school systems. Thank you so much for liking your comments and subscribing to the channel. Please share this with your friends. Smash that like button. Smash the subscription bell. Share this with everybody you know. We're trying to make sure people understand that they're not victims, that they are empowered for greatness, and all this stuff that's out here that's telling them otherwise is false and will not benefit them in the end. So please, I appreciate that. Share that. As we are about to start school in a lot of places, and some places have already started school, you know, it's interesting that the main thing that it seems administrators and educators are looking to do is not to teach our children how to read, how to write, and how to do math, but they're actually trying to teach them how to be a better activist. They're trying to teach them how to be less privileged. They're trying to teach them how to feel even more oppressed. And the reason why I say that is because there's numerous examples from school districts imposing mask mandates on their children and on the classroom, from the state of California requiring all teachers and staff to be vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. And the latest example is in Atlanta. There's actual segregation, or where there was actual segregation occurring. In this video, you will see this parent, a black parent, who was told by a black principal that when she went to the black principal and said that she wanted her daughter to be in this classroom with this teacher, she was told that's not the classroom for your daughter. And she was like, what's up with that? What do you mean that's not the classroom for my daughter? Well, that's not the black classroom. A black classroom. Now, we know going back to the 40s, 30s, during Jim Crow, there was segregation. And while segregation was horrible, the one thing that was evident during that time was that teachers cared about black children. They did not have the resources. They did not have the facilities that the white schools had at that time. But one thing they had were teachers that cared about the children learning and growing and become knowledgeable, because they knew if they educated the children correctly, those children would rise up and be future leaders and impact this world and bring about and enact change in this nation. But it seems as if that is no longer the case. Take a look for yourself.
Found out this is happening, and you go into the school. What happens next?
It was actually at the end of the school year. She contacted me for the placement for the next upcoming school year to just check to see what we wanted, and I informed her of the teacher that was the best fit for my student. And that's when she informed me that if I placed her in that classroom, that she would be by herself with no others that looked like her. And when I questioned it, she told me that that was not the black class. I was then confused, appalled that in 2020 we're talking about black classes and segregation.
Wow. And when you followed up with the school district, did they say this was going to be done away with, or did they continue to try to place her in that classroom?
They did not place her in that classroom, but they did tell us it was months later by the time they had investigated and gone through the process and confirmed that the principal had, in fact, had this practice going on. So after that, they told us that they were, that was not a practice of the district, a policy of the district, and they condoned it, and that she would not be allowed to do that anymore.
Kyla, is your daughter still at that school?
She is.
And is that teacher still there as well?
The principal is still there. She's the person that, she is still there.
And as you see here, this parent, a black parent, was concerned because she did not want her child in a quote unquote black classroom. She wanted her child in the best classroom. And that's what we want. And that's why we have to fight for parental choice when it comes to education and educating our children. We have to. Children are the heritage of the Lord. We, in the eyes of God, as parents, are responsible for our children. So therefore, we need to take back the power and take back the responsibility from the school boards and from the Teachers Association. We need to take that back. Far too many of us have ceded that power and that responsibility and that privilege to school boards, and this is what they've done with it. They're not concerned about teaching our children. They're not concerned about educating our children. They're concerned with indoctrinating our children with all kinds of values that are contrary to biblical Christian values. They want to indoctrinate our children to make them more accepting. They want to teach them about LGBTQ people. They want to teach our children about how to be victims. They want to teach our children about how to be victims. They want to teach our children that what their parents, and see, that's the thing. That's why I call it indoctrination. They are trying to indoctrinate our children into a way of thinking, into a way of life that is contrary to our values. But I've seen parents rise up and fight back. We have to go to school board meetings. We have to make our voice known at those school board meetings. And if need be, we need to take our children out of these public schools. We need to put them into charter schools or private schools. We need to fight for more voucher programs. We need to fight for more opportunity scholarships as they have here in North Carolina. We need to fight for more funding for that. We need to fight for that. This is the time to fight for that. We can't continue to allow our children to be taught of the devil, period. We can't allow our children to continue to be taught of the devil. And that's what's happening in these public school systems. As you can see, people are trying to impose their ideologies upon our children. We must stand up against that. We must fight back against that, because we are responsible for those children to make sure that they are not victims and they are empowered for greatness. Not the school boards, not the government. We are as parents. And so we must stand up, fight back. Find out when the next school board meeting is. Attend that. Make your voice known. Make your presence known. Because we don't want to continue to send our children to schools that are preaching and teaching things that are contrary to what we believe. We don't teach intolerance. We don't teach discrimination, especially those who come from a biblical household. We don't want to send our children to schools that are outright hostile to what we believe. I don't think we want to do that, because we're creating, if we do that, if we continue to send children to schools that teach them against what we believe, what they've been taught at home, they will be what happened when Isaiah was talking to the prophets of Baal. He asked them, why do you continue to halt or choose between two opinions? Why waver? See, it's causing our children to waver. They're becoming double-minded. And you know what happens? Eventually, they're going to side with the one that's easier. They're going to side with the one that sounds better to their ears. And so we have to fight. We have to stand up. We have to be vigilant. We have to be vocal, because we don't want our children growing up having a victim mentality.